Donald Trump has, just before the show went live, responded to the appeals court, throwing out his claim of absolute presidential immunity on his attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election. It was described previously as respectfully disagreeing. Well, let's get to the actual words and see what we think. A president of the United States must have full, capital F, full immunity in order to properly function and do what has to be done for the good of our capital C country. A capital N nation destroying ruling like this cannot be allowed to stand if not overturned as it should be. This decision would terribly injure not only the presidency, but the life, breath, and success of our country. I don't know what the breath thing is. Is that, oh God. I have a feeling that someone's gonna look into it and Hitler's gonna have used something about a nation's breath or something. Like that's gotta be a Nazi thing, right? Because what the hell is that? He's not a poet and that makes no sense. Maybe his brain is shutting down. Maybe it's Nazi, I don't know. But we'll continue. A president will be afraid to act for fear of the opposing party's vicious retribution after leaving office. I know from personal experience because I am going through it right now. I suspect that is not the only reason he knows it from personal experience that they would like to use vicious retribution against the other side. I think he knows it because that is the core of his entire being, is vicious retribution against everyone who has wronged him. But blah, 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 political weapon, blah, blah, election interference. Even our elections will be corrupted and under siege. According to you, they already are. So it's bad, it's dangerous, save presidential immunity. Which, by the way, we don't have time to go like super in depth to this, but I think it was The Guardian put together an amazing roundup of all of the times that Donald Trump has called for current or former presidents to be prosecuted for things that they did as president. History is replete with him calling for Democrats to be locked up for things they did as president. So I guess at some point he changed his mind on presidential immunity. I think it might be once he started being charged with crimes, perhaps. But anyway, he's saying save presidential immunity. Obviously, I think the vast majority of thinking people do not think that you should be able to get away with literally anything you want as president. But regardless of what the Supreme Court ends up doing, the most important thing is to do it now, do it promptly, because America deserves to know. They deserve to know whether Trump is guilty of all of the things he's being accused of. And we're gradually getting more information about some. Obviously, with E. Jean Carroll, we now know that he did that. But some of these crimes are really important, and the American people, the voters, his voters, deserve to know. And for the Supreme Court to simply wait, to just sit on their hands, as I said, and let the clock run out, that is a massive dereliction of the duty that maybe they don't have, but should have to our democracy and to voters on both sides of the aisle who should know whether he did the thing he's being accused of doing. As a quick aside, obviously he did it. I mean, we lived through it. We know what he did. But I'm saying in a court of law, can the special counsel actually prove it? Beyond a shadow of a doubt before a jury. And we can't go forward on that until the Supreme Court acts. They've been watching this. Whatever researcher reading through old books they need to do, they should have already been doing that. And so this should be expedited. We should have an answer within weeks. But unfortunately, it's probably not the way that it's going to go. And it matters, by the way. If I could jump ahead to graphic 7, we can't dive into all the details here, but if Donald Trump goes through the trial and is convicted of a crime, that will change people's minds. Now, of course, it should if you're convicted of a felony, but it does. And let's leave that up there for a second. So it is important that you know two things. One, that it changes people's minds. I guess as an addendum to that, it potentially switches who wins the election. And two, it doesn't change nearly enough people's minds. I mean, it's like a 7-point swing if he's convicted of a felony. Now, granted, they could be thinking of other felonies than the January 6th one, but like 74% or 81% of the Republican vote would still go to Trump if he was convicted of a felony, which is less of a shift than we've seen in past polls. It is still something, like 1 in 10 Republicans care about this sort of stuff. He would still narrowly win independents, but not nearly by enough. And look, it certainly is something that would activate young voters. About 15 points of that block would shift towards Joe Biden. And so look, obviously this matters pragmatically, but just philosophically, this is one of the biggest events in American history. We need to know, and right now the only people stopping us from finding out exactly what happened, whether he was guilty, whether he is innocent, is the Supreme Court. So the ball is in their court. Hopefully they get ball handling soon is the way that I'll put it, and I should have put it some other way.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.